Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Playmakers. What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be going through my start sits at the quarterback position. So this is where I break down every single Week 11 matchup and list every single starting quarterback as either a start or a sit. So would I trust them in my starting lineups? While you guys are watching this video, if you're enjoying the content, just do me a huge favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We just reached 1,000 subs, so thank you guys so much for that. We're just going to keep growing and growing. And then if you guys have any fantasy questions, just drop them down below in the comment section, and I'll make sure to get back to every single person. But let's jump into the Thursday night football game where we have the Patriots traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. And honestly, both of these quarterbacks could kind of be seen as fringe starts. Mac Jones really has been a sit for me all season, but he is coming off of a great Week 10 performance, threw for 3 passing touchdowns. I still just don't think he has that consistency. I don't trust his floor because this is totally a game where I could see the Pats going up early. The Falcons really struggled on Sunday. So I could see the Patriots getting a lead and really just grinding out this game on the ground. And then you're looking at like a Mac Jones, 200 yards, maybe 1 touchdown kind of game. So I still just don't trust him in starting lineups just yet. For the Falcons, Matt Ryan's kind of been a guy who's been on the fringe all season. I'm just not seeing it this week. This is a tough Patriots defense. That offense looked miserable on Sunday. Just got absolutely destroyed. And then we're looking at Cordero Patterson potentially having a high ankle sprain. Even if it's not a high ankle sprain, I don't think the odds are great for him playing on Thursday. So this team has just been decimated. They don't have any weapons left. And so I'm just not going to be interested in playing Matt Ryan. Moving on to Sunday, we have the Saints taking on the Eagles. And for the Saints, even though Trevor Siemian is actually coming off of a fairly decent performance, I'm really just not trusting it. This is a Saints team. The offense is going to win in different ways, but they're really just going to be scrappy enough to stay in games with that defense. They're going to rely on the running back position, whether it's Alvin Kamara or Mark Ingram. For the Eagles, you got to keep rolling with Jalen Hurts. That rushing upside really keeps him as a nice fantasy play. Then in a divisional game between the Dolphins and the Jets, I'm actually going to be starting Tua. Head coach Brian Flores did come out and say that he expects Tua to get the start on Sunday. This is a really nice matchup against the Jets, and overall, Tua really has not been that terrible this season, especially on a fantasy football level. For the Jets, Mike White had his fun for a few games, then just went out, was absolutely terrible. 4 interceptions. I expect Zach Wilson to get the start in this game, and he is going to be a sit. Really, whoever the quarterback is, I just don't want them in my lineup. Washington football team then takes on the Carolina Panthers. And for Washington, I'm going to be sitting Taylor Heineke. They grinded out the win against the Bucs. Not a lot of people expected them to even be close, in that game. But I still just don't have a lot of faith in this Washington offense. So Heineke's a sit. For the Panthers, it looks like Cam Newton is going to be the guy getting the QB1 reps at practice, so I would expect Cam Newton to be the starter, and I'm someone who really believes in Cam Newton as a fantasy football quarterback. Do I think he's a good NFL quarterback? No, but I think he can get it done for fantasy, kind of like a Jalen Hurts type of player, but someone who's going to rely more on rushing touchdowns compared to the rushing volume. I just want to see him as the QB1 for a full game. I don't want to be in a situation where I start him, and then you're seeing, Newton and Walker splitting, drives. So I just want to see one game. If he plays well, then he'll be a start going into Week 12. Then we've got the Colts taking on the Bills. Carson Wentz has been a fringe start as of late. I ended up going with a sit just because I don't think he has much of a ceiling, and this is a tough matchup against a really solid Bills defense. For the Bills, Josh Allen is a locked-in start every single week. Then a really rough quarterback matchup here between the Lions and the Browns. For the Lions, Jared Goff is the most unplayable quarterback you can find. That offense is just horrible. On the other side with the Browns, their passing attack is almost just as bad. Baker got banged up, but it looks like he's day-to-day. So the dude's tough. Unfortunately, he's just not a very good NFL quarterback. So he's going to be a sit. And then if he's unable to go, I'm not interested in any of their backup options either. So everyone in this matchup is just going to be a sit between Goff and Mayfield. Then we've actually got another matchup with 2 sits. The 49ers traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. For the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo looked really solid against the Rams. They're just not asking him to do a lot. He is very much so just a complimentary piece in this offense. He's just going to land these quick hitter routes to Kittle, to Debo. He's going to let them run after the catch. They're going to rely so heavily on Elijah Mitchell and even Debo Samuel apparently out of that backfield. So there's just no consistency with Garoppolo, and he is going to be a sit. For the Jaguars, it's really just not coming together for T-Law. I kind of thought he would have some value long-term this season. It really hasn't gone that way so far, so he is going to continue to be a sit. Then we have the Texans taking on the Titans. Tyrod Taylor is a really easy guy to sit in this matchup. For the Titans, Ryan Tannehill has definitely been disappointing, but I think he's still someone you can plug into your offense, especially considering that they're going up against the Texans. This should definitely be a nice opportunity for Ryan Tannehill to have a really solid game. Moving on to a divisional matchup between the Packers and the Vikings, I think you're starting Aaron Rodgers for sure, and Kirk Cousins. These aren't players who are going to be like top tier quarterback ones, but they're going to be solid, mid to lower end QB1 options every single week. Ravens Bears is up next, and for the Ravens, Lamar Jackson locked into your lineup. Definitely struggled on Thursday Night Football in Week 10, but I think he's going to have a bounce back here against the Bears. Honestly, for the Bears, Justin Fields, you could maybe make an argument for him being a start this week. I just want to see it for one more game. He's really started to get his legs involved. He looks much more confident as a passer ever since he just got absolutely lit up by the Bucs defense. But he's going to be a sit in this matchup, but definitely someone who could turn himself into a start down the stretch. Then we have the Bengals taking on the Raiders. Both of these quarterbacks are going to be starts. I think Joe Burrow is just a pretty safe option to have as your starting QB. For the Raiders, I actually kind of debated listing Derek Carr as a sit, and it's just because this offense has not been clicking. I don't really think Henry Ruggs was that great of a player, but now they really just have zero, down the field threat. You've got Deshaun Jackson there. I don't know if any of you guys saw that play where he fumbled, but this man had no one within 5 yards of him, and he straight up just turned around and ran into the defender. So I just don't have a lot of faith in this Raiders offense, but he's still someone I think you could have a little bit of confidence in going into this matchup against the Bengals. Moving on to a divisional game between the Cardinals and the Seahawks. We just don't know if Kyler Murray is going to be back. It seems like he's basically a coin flip, 50-50 chance he returns. The Cardinals do have a bye in Week 12, and you can kind of look at this in one of two ways. The first one would be, okay, they probably just want to sit him, give him that extra week of rest with the bye, and then get him back in Week 13. But I also think there's an argument to be made where you could say, okay, we can play him this week, and then he has a week of rest after in case he's sore. I really don't think we know which way this is going to go. So basically a 50-50, like Cliff Kingsbury said. But if Kyler Murray starts, he is going to be a start. If he sits, you've got to be sitting Colt McCoy. And then for the Seahawks, Russell Wilson, coming off of one of his worst games ever, I think you're going to plug him in there as a start. He's going to bounce back and should be a solid QB1 option moving forward. In one of the best quarterback matchups this week, we have the Cowboys traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, and both of these QBs are going to be locked in starts. Dak Prescott had a big bounce back from his awful Week 9 performance. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs offense finally looks like it's clicking. Do I think they're 100% back? No, but he still went out and had a massive performance, and even when they were struggling, he's still someone that I was listing as a start. Then for Sunday Night Football, we have the Steelers taking on the Chargers. For the Steelers, it actually looks like Mason Rudolph is going to be the guy getting the start again. It seems like Ben Roethlisberger isn't going to have enough time to clear COVID protocol. Either way, I wouldn't be starting either of these quarterbacks. So Roethlisberger or Rudolph, both of those guys are sits. For the Chargers, honestly, Justin Herbert has been fairly underwhelming this season. He's been struggling. I am going to list him as a start, but he's definitely more of a fringe QB1 option compared to what I think a lot of people, including myself, were expecting, which was someone who could be a mid-tier QB1. And then for the final matchup of the week, we've got the Giants traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Daniel Jones is going to be a sit. Honestly, if you are really desperate, I wouldn't hate starting him just because this Bucs defense can definitely be passed on, but still, we just don't know the health of that wide receiver core. Is Sterling Shepard going to be back? We don't know. So Jones is going to be a sit, but if you're desperate, not the worst play. And then Tom Brady probably coming off of one of his worst games of the season. Still, he throws 2 interceptions. One was just blatantly dropped by the wide receiver. It happens sometimes. He should bounce back this week and is going to be a start. That is going to wrap it up for every Week 11 matchup. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ask me any fantasy questions down below. But thank you guys for stopping by. Go check out my tight end start sits, which are going to be posted today. And then I have my running back and wide receiver start sits, which were posted yesterday. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you next time.